Have you ever wondered how the United States has stayed on top of the world for over 70 years? It is not just about military power or fancy diplomacy. It is something far more subtle, something you use every day without thinking: the US dollar. This isn't just money, it is the invisible hand shaping the entire global economy. After World War II, the Bretton Woods system made the dollar the king of all currencies, even when the US dropped the gold standard in the 70s. The dollar's reign continued today. Almost everything important in the world is priced in dollars: international trade, global debt, oil, coffee, copper, even the money your country keeps in its central bank, it's all in US dollars. This gives America a superpower that no other country has because the world needs dollars. The US can do things other countries can only dream of. It can print money, run huge deficits, and absorb economic shocks like a sponge. When the Federal Reserve in Washington, D.C. decides to raise or lower interest rates, it sends shock waves across the globe. And nowhere are these waves felt more strongly than in Latin America. Latin American countries are in a particularly tough spot. Why? Their economies are built on exporting raw materials. We're talking about oil from Venezuela, soybeans from Brazil, copper from Chile, lithium from Bolivia, and coffee from Colombia. All of these commodities are priced and sold in US dollars, not in local currencies like the peso or the real. This creates a permanent vulnerability when the dollar gets stronger. It sounds like good news, right? But for Latin America it means their exports become cheaper on the world market, so they earn less. Even worse, any debt they owe in dollars suddenly becomes much more expensive to pay back. Imagine your mortgage payment suddenly jumping up. Not because you borrowed more, but because the money you earn is now worth less. That is the reality for entire nations. This leads to a vicious cycle of dependency. When as interest rates are low, cheap dollars flood into Latin America. Governments borrow, investors pour in money, and for a little while everything looks great, but then the Federal Reserve decides to fight inflation back home by hiking interest rates. Suddenly all that money rushes back to the United States. Chasing higher returns, what happens next is a recurring nightmare for Latin America. Local currencies collapse. Inflation skyrockets. Economic crises erupt. We've seen this movie before, over and over again. The devastating debt crisis of the 1980s, the Mexican tequila crisis in the 90s, Argentina's repeated defaults. They all share a common thread: deep exposure to the US dollar and the reliance on commodities. It just makes it all worse. Because these countries export raw materials instead of finished products like cars or computers, they're stuck at the bottom of the global economic ladder. Commodity prices are wild. They soar during global booms and crash during recessions. When prices fall, government budgets are slashed, leading to painful cuts in public services and social unrest. Meanwhile, the United States benefits from this entire setup. The global demand for dollars stays high because every country needs them to trade and pay their debts. This allows the US to keep buying more from the world than it sells, effectively exporting its inflation to other countries. To put it simply, the rest of the world works to earn dollars while the United States gets to print them. Institutions like the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank often reinforce this system. When a Latin American country faces a crisis, it turns to them for a bailout, but the money comes with strict conditions: cut government spending, privatize state-owned companies, and open up markets. These policies often end up weakening local industries and making the country even more dependent on exporting. Commodities. This isn't just about economics. It is deeply political. Any government that dares to challenge this system by trying to control its own resources or reduce its reliance on the dollar faces immense pressure. We are talking about financial attacks on their currency investors, pulling their money out, and political isolation. So Latin America is trapped in a paradox. It is a continent incredibly rich in natural resources, yet it struggles with poverty, debt, and inequality. It exports billions of dollars worth of goods, but lacks control over its own economic destiny. The dollar-centric system is designed to benefit the financial centers of the world, not the countries providing the raw materials. But things might be changing. Conversations about de-dollarization are getting louder. Countries like Brazil and Argentina are exploring ways to trade using their own currencies, bypassing the dollar altogether. Building a new system won't be easy, and it won't be without risks. But for Latin America, breaking free from the dollar's grip is about more than just money. It is about reclaiming their sovereignty. Thanks for watching. If you found this interesting, don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into how our world really works.